Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So first of all, yay, thank you for the 100 subscribers. I think there's a little bit more than 100 at the moment of recording, but regardless, thank you so much for all the people who have subscribed so far. To some that may be a tiny number, but I much appreciate it. As somebody who's just like doing this for fun and trying to figure it out and just sharing my art experiences and chaos. So let's just get into the video, which is another sketchbook tour. I believe this is my 4th one that I have made, so I really hope you enjoy. Okay, so another sketchbook tour. This one, I can't really tell if I finished quickly or not, as I've completely forgotten when I first started it. I did complete it about a week or two right before the end of 2024 and tried to record a sketchbook tour, but I kind of ran out of time as I was actually planning to travel during for New Year's, so it all kind of got a little too busied up for me to actually end up filming anything. So here we are, a little bit delayed, and without further ado, a blank page. Yeah, I unfortunately did the whole thing where I'm gonna come back later and make a really nice spread, but that didn't happen. I usually don't even typically do that. Only my last sketchbook was like an exception where I made a really nice aventurine one. So yeah, the true start is actually here, with a kind of inspired by Honkai Star Rail's aventurine character and a little bit of the Penacony sort of, you know, Las Vegas kind of themed thing, and also a little bit of Alice in Wonderland, so a whole mix of stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to do like a Hearts concept outfit. And yeah, originally when I finished this spread, I actually was not really happy with it at all, but looking back on it, I'm not really sure why. It turned out pretty fine. It's not the most special piece on the planet or my most favorite, but it looks pretty fine. So yeah, does anybody else ever feel like that, where they just look back on something that they thought they absolutely hated and was horrible, but it turns out it wasn't actually anywhere near as bad? I feel, I was talking to a friend that also draws, and they were saying how it felt like they were going backwards and drawing worse and worse, but I sometimes feel that way as well, and I never know why, because then when I look back at even a year or so at something and I see, you know what, I think I've drawn something like this better, or whatever, or what I thought actually was horrible is not horrible, but I've improved further going forward, kind of thing. So yeah, it's really weird that us artists have that kind of like skewed perspective of our own art and everything, that keep going back and forth between absolutely hating our art and maybe thinking it's competent enough or something. Yeah, and then next spread is the Inktense pencil crayons. Totally forgot. So water soluble pencil crayons, essentially watercolor pencil crayons, but with ink in them. It always feels weird when I keep mentioning them, because I feel like I have to explain it like every time. I don't know why, but yeah, the way I did this kind of reminded me of like when I was a kid, when I was first learning watercolor pencil crayons. I believe how the teacher kind of taught us how to do it, which is kind of funny, but it had been so long since I had my hands on any kind of watercolor pencil crayons, so honestly I was just kind of doodling and doing whatever, just getting a feel for them, not really trying to make some kind of masterpiece or anything. I'm surprised I took on the challenge of making an entire page worth of image. I was looking at a reference too, but still makes not much of a difference. And also this one is also a photo reference. But this time I didn't use watercolor pencil crayons. It's just inking with acrylic ink and with watercolors. And I really thought the photo was cool because it was cool light source and then like really warm darker parts or something of her skin tone. I thought that was very neat. I'm not sure if I still even have a link to that photo or not. It was on the free sites, either Pixabay or the other one I typically use, which I haven't gone to in a while, so for some reason my brain can't remember it, but I'll probably pop it up on the screen or something if you need any good free site, free photo sites or something, royalty free ones. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I remember painting. The only thing that kind of annoyed me was I screwed up and I got, I think, a little bit lazy with the way I was inking the tights there. But yeah, it was kind of interesting with all the textures and lines and patterns. Then this one also I remember hitting, and that's why I stopped and I didn't finish. But looking back, it just kind of looks half finished. You know, in the ugly stage of watercolor, which is typical for when you're 50% through a watercolor painting, it looks ugly as sin half the time. Yeah, I think that's what this one suffers the most of, because the face is all right. I don't see anything too much. Again, I was kind of doing it with like star shape whatever, because it's a little bit like of a mix of my style and I guess a little bit of anime or something. But yeah, I could always go back and kind of fix this one up, and I think with some effort it would look completely fine when it would be finished. But alas, we always have our unfinished stuff forever. Then on Pose Maniacs, there was like this whole set of photos of this guy, like real photos of him posing and everything. So I took the opportunity to do some practice of anatomy and everything, and just like inking and a little bit of shadows and hatching. Last time I was on Pose Maniacs though, I don't think I saw this set anymore, so I don't know if they took it down or whatever, or if it was temporary, but I know 100% this was from Pose Maniacs at some point. So there's the organization of that site is a bit clunky, so I tend to always have trouble finding this thing that I found previously, so it might be why. But yeah, really enjoyed inking and doing that. Then a less exciting, well, actually I did really think I was very actually happy with the OC drawings that I did here. This is kind of, I guess, I don't even know, but this one for sure turned out to be a final painting of my OC. I just like scanned in and did a digital ink version so I could print it on a very large scale, and yeah, I think I time-lapsed that one. I can't even remember anymore. 2024 feels like 1,000 years ago, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely some great ones here. I drew a lot of my OC actually, this one in this sketchbook. I guess because I realized I barely draw any original characters, and especially felt like I really wanted to flesh one out, especially because I've been hanging around with a lot of like art friends now for a year, and you know, a lot of people tend to have like an original character. I'm like, oh, okay. I tended to just sometimes draw them, and then I think I did a lot of landscapes for a long period of time, so I never really developed them much. That's whole thing about that, but yeah. I really got into it in this sketchbook especially, but I mean, I've been slowly like fleshing out this particular character more and more, because I had these hopes and dreams that I'll eventually do the comic that I wanted to, but we'll see. I mean, comic's a huge investment, so it's one of those things where if it happens, it happens, but you never know. And then just a sketch, I guess I was doing another like, I think I just googled person running, and then I was just doing that for reference, just to get an idea and practice more shadow and inking. And then these two are one of my favorites in this sketchbook. There's a lot of favorites actually, of my original character in a suit. I drew this at a meetup. I did end up painting it at home because sometimes a water brush I find can get a little bit muddy, and when I'm working, because the Rosa Gallery paints are very creamy, they pick up a lot of paint really easily, so I find I can get the colors a little bit muddy very quickly. So I was at this stage where I was kind of worried that I would ruin a really good line art, so I waited until I got home, and then I had like all proper brushes and could easily clean and whatever, and then I painted this, which I'm pretty happy with. I really liked how it all turned out. That was fun. The only thing is like to point out the flaws was eye is a little bit messed up, but oh well, that's fine. And then there is the Invincible drawing, which I really like the way it turned out. Did make him maybe a bit too bulky, and gave him an 8-pack, but other than that, I really am happy with the way I ended up painting that face, and generally overall. Yeah. Then moving forward, another OC in a suit sort of thing. This one I have a digital painting version and there's this ink version, but I can't really tell which one I ended up liking more because this one kind of has its own style, you know, traditional ink versus a digital painting, so it's like half and half in which one I like. Then at this point, I think I got a new small set as a birthday gift of gouache, and it's the Winsor Newt one. And then I decided to practice a little bit, try it out, test out the colors because they were a different set of colors than what I had with the Holbeins, and I was messing around a little bit more. And then I wanted to do a whole little like teacup painting, but and I was using reference too, but I wanted to change it up and I wanted to change the teacup to a different color. But I was not really happy how it was going. I was adding too much water, I think, to the gouache and not really doing a fantastic job. It probably would take a couple layers and everything to fix this up. It's not that bad, but you know when you're not feeling a painting and it's just like spur of the moment kind of thing, then yeah, it's just a sketchbook painting. It's not that big of a deal. Then I did a time lapse of this one. I'm on the channel of Wriothesley with tea, which was a lot of fun to paint, and I'm very happy the way it turned out with all the layering and everything and the shading. Yeah, so this was quite fun, except I nearly destroyed this entire page because I don't know if you can totally see, it's so easy to pick up on the camera with how water wrecks the paper. I initially tried to flatten this out more, and then I did the technique where you put like a page there and you flatten it with a whole lot of books, but it's a bad idea actually to do that because it warps it in a really funky way. I've done this before in mixed media paper, and the same thing happened with another sketchbook, and I didn't learn my lesson the first time, so I ended up using gouache just to cover up and make a more opaque background because you can see it less than, at least how the camera will pick it up. So that's the funny bit on that one, but I'm glad the whole piece overall survived, and it's not really Wriothesley that's all like bumpy lumpy, and so it's still transferable and still savable, but yeah, that's very rough. So obviously I didn't paint on this page not to further ruin it on the other side. I mean, there was a completely different painting of some weird face because I was trying to use up some acrylic gouache at some point, and I didn't really like the way the face turned out. It was very bizarre looking, and I normally don't care if like something's too ugly, but I couldn't look at it at any time. I was like flipping through the sketchbook, so I used some reference just as a practice of a pose and did another acrylic gouache painting kind of thing on top, which turned out okay. It wasn't anything special. I wasn't really going anything other than just cover up my horrible mistake. And more of my OC. I hope you're not tired of seeing him, but yeah. During an art meetup, I wanted to do some kind of casual pose or something, nothing like fancy, instead of like a suit, which I constantly was painting him as of late. Example on this side. So yeah, that was that, and I'm fairly happy with the way it turned out. I think I didn't use any reference at all, so yeah. I'm happy that the foreshortening actually didn't turn out so bad. Yeah, because a lot of times for hands and stuff, I will use references because otherwise it can get a little wonky and it gets a little weird. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with using references, right? You can definitely get your best artworks, because I've seen a lot of like great comic book artists and their works, and I'm like, oh my god, they're so fantastic. And then I learned that they were using references, and I was like, oh, okay, well now I don't feel so bad, because there are people out there who will like say using references is bad, which is kind of weird. I never understand why. There's amazing artists that can definitely pull anything out of their ass, but it's not always that simple, and yeah, and it's not a crime, so yeah. Anyway, moving on. Techniques and ideas. This was a fun little sketch of a friend, technically, because they were holding a box of Timbits and there was only one left, and I thought it was funny because his expression was so sad that there was only the one left, and I think it was a flavor that he didn't want, so that I just quickly sketched up like a fun little thing of that. And this was a lot of fun to paint. I can't recall. I believe this was done with gouache and not acrylic gouache. I think it was done with gouache. I could be wrong. It could be acrylic gouache, just because I'm blanking on 100% on what I did. I referenced some kind of black and white painting, so it wasn't done at all with a color painting, and I had a lot of fun actually doing this one, and I made it very stylized. Because usually a lot of times nowadays when I'm using references, I like to like stylize the whole thing. And even though I am using like free stock stuff anyway, but still, I just, you know, give it my own spin as opposed to just like one for one kind of copy, just because it's kind of fun. Yeah, this one I think didn't have any reference. I think I might have just tried something on my own, so maybe the face looks a bit rougher, because I was trying to also practice side view of faces, but yeah. Then more gouache painting. This was some kind of forest spirit kind of character. Maybe I had Witcher in mind or something, or some other thing. I'm not sure what at that point inspired me to make this, but I had a lot of fun with it. There's like a few things that are kind of about it that could be colored much better, probably just like this area more than anything, because I do like some details of it and how I kind of painted the face and everything. But yeah, it's a little rough because kind of stopped at a certain point because I wasn't really sure where I was going with it and how I wanted to keep going with it, so and I don't know why I keep trying to draw a character with an umbrella, just because I actually realize I hate drawing umbrellas, because trying to do the perspective angles of them is a pain in the ass. So yeah, it must have been like something I saw and I was inspired and I was like, oh, I want to draw an umbrella, and then yeah, no. That's how that went. Then I did some reference sketching of faces, just because female faces are the bane of my existence as of late. And so that's kind of part of the reason why I was practicing. Also hair. Hair I've been struggling with. That's also another pain point. So yeah, sometimes I'll just like look at a bunch of references, kind of sketch them out roughly, and even ink them roughly kind of thing, just to practice a little bit more. And yeah, again, I'll stylize it more, considering most of my style is obviously stylized. I don't do realism, so yeah. And this was like the moment where I mentioned before, where I kept getting the Rosa Gallery paints very muddy every time I was using that set outside, like outside of my house and like traveling with a water brush. So I wanted to see if it was me or the paints or whatever. And you know, they're very bright and they're very pretty, so it was just a skill issue. I discovered. Yes, that's that was the conclusion of that. It was just a skill issue. And then when I was in the garden outside, so when it was nice and green and warm and not snowy and not winter, just sketching basically anything in the garden kind of thing. So it was very like whatever. Sometimes when I'm sitting outside in the garden, I don't know why, but I'm so head empty, and I just end up drawing whatever plants very kind of monotonously, very weirdly, without much focus or an intention. Like I don't even get any inspiration of some random stuff to draw. I just don't know, so it's very, very bizarre. And then went back to more pose practice, anatomy practice, whatever. I'm not entirely sure what I was referencing when I was doing this, but I'm usually referencing some kind of pose site or something. Yeah, I actually dropped out of the habit of writing down any information on that. I did it for a couple of sketchbooks, but yeah, didn't do it for this one. But yeah, guaranteed it was either Pose Maniacs or something like that. This was kind of like the random little pretty girl sort of thing, which on occasional like a random burst of interest of painting, except I don't typically do a lot of them, so I'm kind of really random on it. It's just whatever. I don't even know how to describe it. And then I was doing more. I think these might have been even like sticker ideas or something, but yeah, they kind of went nowhere, and I'm not particularly happy with any of these. I'm not sure I'd ever really turn them into stickers. And yeah, I wonder what show I was watching. So I had watched Frieren, and I don't typically try to draw anime girls, or because I'm not the greatest at them, even worse. and then like even the stylized females that I do draw. So I was just kind of practicing the style of Frieren, and that was the first attempt. Oops, nearly knocked over water. Yay, a whole glass of it. And this one didn't turn out so bad, but I was staring at it trying to figure out why it looked weird, and then it dawned on me that the whole issue with the anime girls, why I have so much of a struggle, is I kept trying to put the eyes closer together than they normally are. And so I did this study from it's like a screenshot from the show, which was a lot of actually fun to do, especially the backgrounds. That was quite enjoyable actually, so yeah, one of my hardest things. Even sometimes it's like just a copy or whatever, but it was still a lot of fun to do, that I could just recreate the background, especially because backgrounds in animes are so gorgeous a lot of times because they are painted in such detail. So yeah, and then I tried again doing her in some kind of weird pose, but turned out okay. It wasn't anything special. And then this was a fun little sketch that I did, and I think I might have referenced something. I think I saw a photo and I thought that would be kind of cool to turn into like a starry background or whatever, and into something like this, and I wanted to practice doing some kind of shading at night style, because that's always fun. And then I think at this point I realized I was struggling with what is torso, how to draw a torso, how to draw anatomy, whatever. And then I ended up getting one of the little books, one of the Morpho books, because I already have the muscle one or something, and these books are great because they're very small, they're light, they have like a lot of like great references or whatever, and really like show you how they're very useful in terms of like if you're struggling with certain stuff like anatomy. You know, sometimes you're struggling and you need like another reference or something just to like help you out, because yeah, I don't know why, but my brain was like shutting down. It's like I couldn't figure out how to draw anymore, or like I convinced myself I couldn't figure out how to draw, so I was doing a lot of like practice and references and drawing and stuff. Here freaking out, there's like more pages of like practice and roughness, but I mean that's the point of the sketchbook, right? Just to practice more. This was also randomly based on some kind of photo, but I changed it up completely because I really wanted to I actually wanted to draw the background and stuff, but then I got super lazy, as you can probably tell how messy and really crappy this is, and the perspective's completely off and everything about this. So this is one really weird failed attempt mess. My favorite Frieren painting I think I've done so far is in the sketchbook, and yeah, it turned out pretty well. I ended up, sometimes some of my great sketches actually turned out like when I'm like drawing at the meetup, so that was really fun. I ended up doing some gouache background for this, just so she'd stand out more, considering like Frieren's hair and outfit is pretty light, so yeah, any lighter washes just weren't looking as good. And then another random girl sketch, which I screwed up the angle of the head, so that's why I stuck on like another one. Like I just particularly really liked how the rest of this was inked, and that's kind of why I bothered with that. But this never really went anywhere. Maybe perhaps in the future I could do something with it, like but yeah, for now it's just living in my sketchbook rent free. And kind of like inspiration maybe to do some kind of pose with the original character again, sitting on a building edge, and wanted to do one of my favorite like washes for like when it's like a night scene, more like purple and yellows, and just being lit up from the back. So I thought that was kind of fun to paint. But yeah, kind of happy with the way it turned out. Background, of course, could have been like inked better, but it was just like a simple sketch thing. I realized at that point I hadn't touched my gouache in a while, and then I kind of just randomly started painting stuff with it, which was a little weird, but okay, you know, a little weird. And then that kind of weird leafy motif thing kind of continued, and yeah, then I just like added a little fairy because I just felt weird just having leaves. I think the best success from the gouache is this one. There was an artist who was painting something with gouache very similar, so I was like kind of emulating this, and I thought I'd kind of give it a try. Mostly was trying out the Winsor & Newton gouache set with the colors that I got to try and see how to mix skin tones. And then I ended up going with like the warm, what's it called? The warm primaries from my Holbein set that I had gotten, which works a lot better for skin tone, to be honest, mixing it, at least for me. I don't think it's impossible to mix skin tones with like cool primaries. It's just I already struggle enough mixing paint, so yeah, it was more like I kind of am going with the thing I'm most comfortable with and what I like what turns out the most. But yeah, it turned out pretty cute. Then I realized I kind of wanted to do more inking because I guess it's like a back and forth of wanting to do painting, wanting to do inking, and so I also decided to try and commit to actually drawing in a proper background. So this was somewhat success, and also kind of like a simple scene. The hatching was not as much of a success. I don't know if you could make that out as well. Sorry if it... oh, there we go. There we go, now it's focused. Yeah, not the greatest hatching. How not to do hatching kind of thing. And my camera is deciding to not autofocus for some reason. I think I by accident changed the setting there. So I hope I haven't been recording all completely blurry stuff, but I think it was focused on the sketchbook, so yeah. And more fun inking. I actually really like the way these very fine line inking turned out, because it was some of the stuff in the garden, but this time like more detailed and very fine. So yeah, that's the fine line details. Yeah, I was using quite a fine liner for this, which is not typically what I do in terms of like detailed stuff like this, but it's always fun to practice. Then I was, I believe I was using a reference photo, and I was practicing doing the blue as a base, and also just like practicing mixing some skin tones, because I think in the past it looked a little bit muddy and too desaturated, so I got a much better handle of it this time around, turning out much nicer. And I also really like the the blue showing through. I think that's kind of very cool. And some kind of character drawing I was attempting there, and it kind of went nowhere, and it's a little hard to see, so not much to say about that one. But for this one is another original character I came up with, which I'm really bad with naming my original characters for the most part. The one in particular in my sketchbook, I believe I named Nathaniel Dunn or something, and like short Nate or something. This one, I believe I have written down somewhere, but obviously not here, so I completely forgot, and I decided to just like align him with like a green pencil crayon. Is it polychromos pencil crayons that are the... yeah. Anyway, I did a full painting of him. I don't think I time-lapsed this one though, but yeah, this was quite fun to paint. I kind of pictured him as like some kind of like he's supposed to be a club owner, but also maybe like a mafia lord or something like that. And I thought it would be really funny if he had like a cute white cat as a pet or something, as his precious prize pet or something like that. Yeah, so I did more fleshing out and drawing and painting him here, which is not a typical thing I do, like a spread of a character, but I thought it'd be kind of fun because there was a pineapple club which I kind of created with this like story idea or something, so I thought, oh, he could be the club owner of that club or something. And yeah, this one did I do a time lapse of this one? I can't recall. I remember posting it though, so yeah. And I decided to keep it black and white. And I also added some gold to the green ink to paint this dragon. Overall, I kind of wish for these details I first colored it in with green, and then I went over it with gold. I think that would have been nicer, just because like it looks, the shiny part like this looks great, but when you're kind of looking at it like this, it kind of has that very weird, mucky, weird, messy coloring kind of to it. It's not very nice and not very neat, and I really kind of don't like it. but it is what it is. Yeah, kind of that transparent. So overall, I really like this, but yeah, it could have been better. But yeah, really fun. Also, it's just really fun to have like just black backgrounds sometimes and just black and white. So yeah. And for on to cuter things, I was kind of sketching some ideas for a photo, and then I realized somebody's been doing some kind of galaxy look thing, so that's where that idea came on, so I didn't really continue it. I was like, okay. Yeah, you know when you have an idea for a drawing, you draw it, and you realize, oh, I got this idea because I was looking at somebody else's art, so it's just essentially, it feels too similar to what somebody else had done. Which I know is kind of these days really hard because everybody has kind of drawn everything, and you know, two people can kind of have the same idea sort of thing, but it's really hard to like sometimes stray being too close to somebody else, even when you're trying really hard not to. I feel it can get a little bit muddy in that circumstance, but by no means am I trying to ever really copy anybody else. But yeah, I do have my raccoon stickers and that raccoon character I really like drawing, so I thought it'd be kind of fun because it must have been Thanksgiving or something coming up, and that's kind of why I drew raccoon trying to eat turkey. Maybe I'll turn that one also into a sticker. Currently my Etsy shop is down because during December there was like Canada Post strike, and I couldn't afford to be selling my stickers and shipping with anything but Canada Post because everything else is way more expensive in terms of shipping, and I can't imagine anybody wants to pay like more like I don't even know how much more extreme amounts, because I think it's like the shipping's maybe 50 cents or something like that when you just send a sticker in an envelope, but if you're sending it with Purolite or something like that, it's gonna cost you way more, right? And I thought that was kind of stupid, so I was just gonna take it down anyway and then put it back up in the new year, whatever. Canada Post strike has ended, so it's all good, but I wanted to move towards sticker sheets regardless anyway, so yeah, just an overhaul on that, and yeah. But anyway, moving on to the actual sketchbook, I was feeling like drawing a peacock dress because that was, when I was younger, I used to really love doing that. I thought peacocks were very cool, and trying to sketch a ball gown or a dress with a peacock theme is very cool, but for this one in particular, I just kept black and white because I just was having fun with the acrylic ink, so that was for that one. And then I kind of, this is like not anything new. I've seen, you know, the whole like red circle and background thing a million times, but it's one of those things where you kind of just feel like drawing it regardless of, even if it's nothing new. So I kind of had my fun with it and did it because it's just very satisfying painting a one solid color circle and just using black ink. So this was tons of fun to actually paint and draw. And I kind of ran with it, and I did my original character as well. So more themed and more like my thing, and I really like the way this turned out. The camera is making this color a lot darker than it is. It's very saturated green. Not neon, but it's still pretty bright, actually. And then this is okay. This is like a spread that I just didn't know what the hell was going on, what I did with this, so that's really random. And I did a much better version of this character later on, but this was just me kind of like sketching out quickly some kind of original character, and I really like how I did the final iteration of her digitally, but this one is a bit of a pop it on the screen actually, 'cause she looks vastly different. The one thing again with females that I kind of do when I'm not intentionally, and especially when I'm thinking of like a small, more not bulky character in terms of like looking hulky kind of thing, is making the shoulders too big and like the entire torso much bigger than I intended to, which it's kind of thing when you kind of got one character in mind and it just doesn't really match with how you kind of pictured it. That's always my struggle with a lot of female characters. It worked out for a lot of characters that I was inspired by Valkyries or something like that, when I draw them, then it works really well, especially like Wonder Woman and stuff like that. But like when I'm trying to go for just like some kind of science-y inspired girl that's not really been ever working out or anything like that, it kind of looks funny. It's like I'm trying to like picture myself here, but somehow this is like I'm making it much more bulkier than I intended, which again, nothing wrong with like that body shape or anything like that. It's just when you're trying to specifically draw one thing, but it turns out to be a completely different other thing. But yeah, I had some fun with that. And then I did some eye practice because I hadn't done this kind of thing in a million years, and I just felt like doing it in terms of just like coloring, just practicing that. Because I don't normally enjoy drawing like one eye. I always find that really weird because I think they say it's much harder to draw like the two eyes together as opposed to just one eye. And in this case, it was just sort of like some watercolor practice, and without any kind of inking line art, but just watercolor itself. So this was a fun exercise to do, just getting like even the like more stylized eye kind of thing. And then I continued iterating the whole circle thing with like some fun cool designs, and I really like how this one turned out. I think this was maybe a reference pose from a photo, but I can't really recall for sure. It's been too long. Granny has forgot, okay? If it's been like more than a month, or hell, even maybe more than a week, I don't even know. Yeah, sadly, my memory is shit. So yeah, and oh, and then there's this character better iterated than like here, so yeah, much nicer. Maybe the waist is way too skinny though. That's just really weird. Sometimes I don't even notice the skewing of it. It wasn't even in my intent to do it that way. It's also sometimes the angle you hold your sketchbook. So I know I've suffered from that quite a bit. So yeah, the digital version I ended up doing of her was much more proportionally not as out of whack. Then this one I originally hated, and that's why I didn't continue it, and I wish I did, because this was supposed to be purple, but this is another original character to go with like the whatever storyline with her or something like that. So it's completely related to my own little stories or something in my head. I think I even tried to digitally redo this one, and it looks so much worse, and when I look back at the sketchbook sketch, I'm like, what was wrong with this one in the first place? It looks perfectly fine. I guess my brain was just being a hater for no reason. Always gotta love your brain when it's like putting you down for no reason. Then I randomly wanted to do a giant face portrait of a random imaginary character or something, and then yeah, that's that. It's neither here nor there, very random. And then I wanted to do my raccoon, but after I completely completed it, it just was like, this just really feels like Banksy right now. And I'm like, didn't he draw some kind of animal holding a balloon? Yeah, so I have no idea if he ever drew a raccoon or not, but yeah, it kind of very much just started screaming Banksy, and I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't even in my head there, but that's really funny. But yeah, it is what it is. It's really funny. I don't think it looks bad. It made me think of that so much. I'm like, I don't know if he did something exactly like this or not, but yeah. And my Spider-Man one. So I definitely did a sketchbook session video of this one, and I believe also of this one. I remember that much. I believe, yeah. I can revisit my channel and check. You'll never know if I had to actually check or not to determine that fact. But yeah, I think I distinctly remember recording both of them while I was painting. So yeah, these were painted with gouache, and it was quite a bit of fun to do it. Just because Spider-Man is always, I think I mentioned in that video, in both videos, Spider-Man's always fun because he's bright colors, he's primary colors, so it's like kind of a joy to me, at least, to paint him. Plus there's no struggle in worrying about like making the face look right or something. There's only just like the minor trying to remotely make the mask eyes look correct, but it's not as big of a stress, so yeah. Then more kind of original character practice, outfit practice, whatever. It's not the same OC Nate, it's just random drawings are inspired, I guess, by that character, plus, yeah, doing different outfit things, like I said, and a little bit of watercolor quick practices or something. Then there's the initial sketch of the galaxy painting girl that I did, which is the same girl, this one here. The initial pose is a little weird. I wasn't really sure what I was thinking of it, so I did definitely alter it. I even did get some help and advice for fixing the pose and just making it look a lot better and organic, which turned out so much better. So then, sadly, it's a little hard to make out, but I was kind of going for raccoon trying to drink coffee ideas for the next stickers. Hopefully those will continue on, because I was planning to make more raccoon stickers ideas. Then a sketch for a friend's wedding, and more blank pages where I think at some point I was like running out of steam and inspiration, I guess. And there's this brush marker pen that I have, and I was kind of just like practicing a little bit with that one and seeing how that went, which was okay, but nothing special. And I guess practicing angle of heads was the goal of that one. Then, of course, my Jiaqiu painting. This one I definitely enjoyed. I think I mentioned in the Nouvellette painting that I enjoyed painting Jiaqiu way more than I did Nouvellette. And even though this is smaller and on the mixed media paper, which can sometimes be quite a bit of a struggle. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I feel like I probably want to do a more final version of him or something on a proper paper. And maybe with like painting a much better background, because the background part is the only thing that kind of got messy. Some more original character sketching ideas and outfits. Then at the meetup, I think I ran out of steam. I wasn't sure what to paint, so I just like pulled out my phone and saw some pictures I took of like the city, so I kind of sketched that. But yeah, I actually kind of like the way this turned out. It's like kind of more unfinished thing, but I really like the way that the watercolor colors kind of mix together and everything. That's like the nicest part, where like in the foreground it's nice and warm and stronger while it's like dissipating and getting paler kind of thing. I really like that. So there's some lessons learned in that, even if it was kind of messy and I was tired and didn't want to continue anymore. And then I went back to gouache, and actually specifically my Shinhan gouache. So these suckers, I've had them like buried deep in my drawer about 5 years ago or 6 before COVID times. I had for my birthday gotten a bunch of these, like 7, 8, or however many colors are here. And because I saw people using them, or not specifically Shinhan, but poster paints or whatever, in like, I guess it's like Ghibli movies and stuff like that specifically. You know, when you start seeing those videos, you kind of want to get in on the action when you're an artist on every single piece of type of media that you can, kind of deal. And everybody always falls for like the Ghibli backgrounds, don't they, right? Maybe not everybody, but I really wanted to figure out what these paints were all about, to be honest, when I heard poster paints or when I was trying to search out. I know it's a different brand of paint that is used by Ghibli, and when you can go to Japan and get them. Yeah, I know I went to Japan and I didn't. Mostly because it's been 1,000 years since I watched a Ghibli movie, and I was mostly a fan of like Kiki's Delivery Service and Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle, but that's about it. And then everything else I didn't watch just because I didn't feel like it, sort of thing. Please don't hate me. I think they're very beautiful in all the movies. It's just you know, I can't really say I've ever been a hardcore Ghibli fan, but I think all of his movies are very beautiful regardless. So yeah, at the time I discovered these, and then I'm pretty sure it's just gouache. It says poster color, but I'm pretty sure this is just gouache because it acts and behaves exactly like gouache. So yeah, but they're very pretty colors, and the thing is, again, reactivatable, and I know a lot of people have like the jelly gouache pod things. Well, this is great because it's got kind of lids, so it stayed fresher a lot longer. You can totally like mix and reactivate it, but it's not necessary because this is what's the opacity of it with just using them in this state. The only colors I had to throw out was black. And there was one other color that I had to toss out. That was just, you could not reactivate it. It was just awful. But these are all the colors that I have that work really well. So I decided to use them with the current gouache that I have. And I decided, so this character, I picture with like a lot darker green hair, but I decided to kind of paint him in a more lighter green. And when I posted this, one of my friends who also plays Genshin, she's like, oh, is that Baiju or something? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it does kind of look like Baiju with this, with a much lighter hair, but that's definitely not the vibes I was going for. Yeah, this gouache is a lot of fun to use, especially when you got like very poppy colors like this. So I did my original character, then I did Heizo from Genshin Impact, and then I just randomly did some little quick thing of just seeing the opacity and how well it goes on layered, since it's been a while, and because they're all dried up now. And this, I guess, was like an interlude of some kind of character inking thing, which kind of makes me think of Destiny, but anyway, back to the gouache. I decided to just end up painting a bunch of Genshin characters just as a quick like test, because I thought they kind of went with the colors that I had. There's Tainari, Ayato, Kinich, and Xiao. And of course Ayato's bubble tea. So I was just messing around, coloring them with it, and this was kind of a fun practice. And I continued on trying to do more female characters. Oh man, Mualani took so many tries because I was trying to paint her skin tone to not be super pale. And sometimes with gouache, I don't know what it is, but when you're trying to go lighter, it feels like than what I initially put down, because it was just a completely wrong shade. It was a very bizarre shade I put on, so I was like, okay, I need to do a slightly lighter tone of this one, but warmer. And I kept turning like this very pale, weird, almost grayish brown color, as opposed to just this tone, which I was trying to mix the entire time, which is very weird. So I basically had to like scrub and dab off like an entire layer of paint. And yeah, somehow that turned out to be a decent success. And then I continued on for Frieren. I went with the Shinhan one that I had for her hair color, so it's a lot brighter than it normally is. And yeah, Miko. Yeah. And yeah, I didn't end up painting anything here because I knew that sometimes gouache is a little weird. It can kind of lift a bit in certain cases, like it already did here. And that's kind of why I left it. And then I did another drawing of my OC and some little fun doodling, basically just having fun, not really like trying to do anything particular, and messing around, and trying out different techniques, I guess, of like just coloring backgrounds again, and then some random inking with some smoky thingies, and I guess like Kinich inspired character, I suppose, whatever that is. And then Japan trip happened, and I was actually swatching the paints I got from Japan. Some of them are sparkly, and as you can tell, I love swatching so much and put so much effort in it, just like all the other artists on YouTube. No, I fucking hate swatching, okay? I can't stand it, so I never really bother that much. It's usually when I'm practicing, the first thing I typically did was draw Spider-Man or something like that, but I think I was actually trying to be good in swatch, and that was pointless because it just turned into blob. I think I was going to paint this with the one watercolor set I had, which is like up here. It's like the one that looks like Hiratake Genzai Tenbi, but some other brand, but it still looked pretty cool. And it was like just a small set of 6, and that's part of the reason why I got it. Actually, I think it's a set of 8 because it has the gold and the pearly color, but yeah. I will eventually paint this, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll scan it and then paint it, print, and then on proper paper, because I feel like ruining the sketch. And then Halloween hit, so that was the Halloween idea, and majority of the Halloween stuff is actually on proper paper this time, and that was a much better choice. I had a lot more fun doing that. Which I have an entire video on. I think I only made it to 11 days or something, 12 days. For this page, it was mostly testing all the inks I had, because I had ended up stockpiling on a lot, you know, after a year or several years of buying too many art supplies. You kind of have to go through it and remember everything you bought. I might have been testing a dipping pens or whatever. Speedball Super Black, carbon ink. So I guess Speedball Super Black is not waterproof as far as this testing shows. The carbon black, I have no idea. Acrylic ink obviously is waterproof. So yeah, these are my finds. Very organized and detailed notes, I see. Yeah, and then more of my original character practice. This was some kind of shading ink practice or something like that. I was just having fun with it and going just doing whatever. And then trying to flesh out what more of the original characters from the comic idea here and on here as well. So that's like one of them. I think this was all iterations just for like the one. So yeah, and then there was like that character as well, which I just did a one-off and I kind of really liked, so I stuck with that. I really like the way the eyes are, but I think this was me practicing with the fountain pen or something. Yeah, I believe it was a fountain pen, because I was trying to test out the ink that was in it or something, and yeah, another character there. And then that character I wasn't entirely happy with, so it kind of led into a whole slew of me practicing and going with like different styles, more simplified anime ones, and then this, which is a whole other completely different thing, and I don't think that it kind of morphed to completely unrelated to that first character iteration or anything to do with it. Yeah, and then I decided it had been forever since I did like any comic page or something, just one-offs, and I thought I thought of one random story idea of how one character meets another or something, and I decided to try and sketch it out and do a whole like page of that, which was, well, fairly fun. Nothing in particularly special to show off on the details of it, but it was just like one cohesive thing with actually some semblance of background drawing. So yeah, proud of myself for that. And then I was watching Trash Taste, and they were talking about something about like how some sushi restaurants won't let you in if you have even a perfume on or like a strong cologne or anything like that. So I thought it would be so funny if somebody was waiting at some popular restaurant for like 2 hours, and then only to finally like get to your chance to get in there, and then they have like some kind of fancy butler security doing a sniff test before they let you in, and then they just get rejected because they happen to have some kind of cologne in there. Yeah, I thought that was like a really funny thing, and yeah, I kind of enjoyed inking that one as well, just like continuing on the practice of it. Then another random spur of the moment kind of like character idea. I think it was more of one of those things where I had an outfit idea to ink and try out, and then it just turned into like this. Nothing particularly special, kind of weird. I think I screwed up the anatomy of how that neck goes and everything, so there's that. Then I tried my hand at a different style of the way I was inking and coloring, and I don't really like the way this turned out. It looks a bit weird, especially this one. It's like, it's something, but it's definitely not something that I like, at least. And then I went back to kind of gouache and trying to draw Citlali from Genshin Impact, but I wasn't really liking how majority of the iterations turned out. That was the final one, and it's all alright, but it looks kind of weird. It didn't turn out that as great. Yeah, there's like parts here and there I really enjoyed. I think this one is like the only one in particular I like, but it's alright. It wasn't really a success. And for this one, so we were a group of friends and I were doing a fast food tier list, and as we were doing it, I just started sketching all the foods we were talking about, essentially. So I kind of had a lot of fun with that, as I don't typically draw or paint food or anything like that. So I thought it was a fun challenge to do something different for once that I don't normally do. I did a combination with watercolor pencil crayons and watercolor pencil crayons for this one in particular. Yeah, it was quite fun. Some of them probably could use some more contrast here or there for it, especially the taco, but it was enjoyable. Then for my boyfriend's Christmas gift, part of it, I wanted to paint him a Gundam because he loves them. But I've never drawn a Gundam in my life, so this was a first test of me trying to, just to see how it go before I did the final painting. And since this turned out like fairly okay, it's like a quick little, like, you know, if I'm gonna be able to even comprehend the shapes, because if you've ever looked at a Gundam, there's so many shapes going on. And I was following an artist actually, because of course the second you and somebody else are talking or about something, then your feed keeps like, you know, it's like they're listening, and I kept getting Gundam stuff. And actually, Instagram recommended me some kind of artist that paints Gundams like with watercolors, and I thought it looked so cool. And I thought I'm gonna try my hand in it. It's not gonna look anywhere near as sick as that, but I think I can get it somewhere, somewhere to a nice, decent, presentable, really nice gift level. So I did that, and it was kind of a fun challenge. I really liked it. It was fun practice trying to get all the contrast right, because when you're getting these shapes and angles, right, you really want them to stand out, right, and you don't want just the ink itself to stand out. So I didn't even, I think, ink it with black or anything. I was just trying to get the shapes to stand out on their own, and yeah, that was a lot of fun to actually do. I don't know if I'd paint a Gundam specifically again. We'll see. But yeah, I think I would maybe want to challenge myself more with it, because I think that helped with a lot of watercolor and gouache practice and just like making it stand out more. And then one time while I was on the bus ride back home, I got an idea for a character outfitter or something like that. So I didn't specifically sketch this one. I did a very rough sketch in a smaller sketchbook, and then I went and sketched her out. This was an idea for the pattern of the outfit, but I don't think I ended up implementing it at all. No, I didn't actually. But yeah. Then wonder what show I started watching, Gundan. And so I actually got like a bunch of like colored pens. It said it was the Stabila ones. It said archival, and when I was in Michael's, it didn't really have any other details though, because it was just like you could buy individual separate ones. So I just got a whole bunch of them, and I was like, I was hoping they'd be waterproof, even though I didn't read anywhere waterproof, and sadly they are not. I'm kind of bummed about that, but it was still fun to randomly ink. I mean, these aren't all dun stuff. These two are just random characters. I don't know, but this stuff here is. And then I was also testing the acrylic markers I got, which were quite fun and interesting. I kind of liked using them more in a mixed media setting than just on their own, so they're really great. And I've been using them in quite a few paintings recently, so they're a great add-on for mixed media. And then once again, another Genshin Impact fan art I did of the character Auroron. I thought he would be kind of interesting to ink, considering he's got quite a few tattoos and details to him, but yeah, this is as far as this one went, but I'm kind of happy with it. I didn't end up coloring it because I liked just the way it was, and I was like, I don't want to ruin it. I'm not in the mood to color it. Then I got a red ink that also turned out to not be waterproof, even though I'm pretty sure I read on the Amazon listing page it was or something, but oh well, whatever. The Noodler's red ink, it's still nice. I filled my fountain pen with it, but for some reason, that specific fountain pen, I thought I cleaned out all the black ink, but I guess that top portion or something, where it's not the barrel part, seemed to contain a lot of black ink within it, which I have no idea how to clean out, so I kept drawing with it, even with the red ink in there, and it's so far still black ink. It's not come out, which is wild. And I did a lot of random doodling with it. I also got a Pilot fountain pen for 20 bucks, which feels very nice. The only sad part is the ink is not waterproof. My original character, I'm kind of doing like a whole spread of this character in particular, and less fancy than I did of the other one, but I thought it was just kind of fun to potentially sketch out like some of his hobbies or whatever, or like some ideas of them that's like, you know, work in progress. It could entirely change. I know for sure that I like this character to be a foodie, and yeah. I really kind of like the way I was inking this, and this was like with, I think, the zebra brush pens or something. Those are very nice to use. It just gives you a lot more, what's it called, line weight, all in one go, and you don't have to keep going over it multiple times. Yeah, it's very nice. And then for this one, I actually did a whole like practice of using the acrylic markers more. I thought it was kind of like fun to do. It was kind of interesting. I don't... Nuvolet is very, very pale, so it kind of is like very weird because I feel like this matches his hair quite a bit, but at the same time, like, this is much warmer than he typically is. Or pinker, actually, even. I think that was more of the issue with them, and still turned out fine. It's alright. Probably if I had darkened some details of, like, his eyes or whatever, it would have turned out fine, but yeah. That was just some fun practice with that. And then this was a lot of fun, actually. I started randomly drawing some girls. I think I was watching, Jiaqiu, yeah, watch play ZZZ, and I don't play Zenless Zone Zero, but I really like watching others kind of play it, just because I can't invest anymore in gacha games. You know, I already play like Honkai, Star Rail, and Genshin just for fun. I mean, I don't invest any money, but it's just time, right? It's a lot of time to be investing in those kinds of games. So I thought like the style of them was very cool, so yeah, I just kind of got inspired by that, and that's how this turned out, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun to draw them. Kind of punky girls like that. Yeah. And then this is just another random girl flower drawing, don't know what that was or whatever, and sketch of Wriothesley, which is the digital painting that I've just finished, which was supposed to be a time-lapse, but I screwed up with Clip Studio and didn't get the recording right. And then this is the initial sketch of Nuvolet, or like just the starting point, I guess, base, and then I finished the rest of the sketch and the entire line art on the computer, and then I painted it entirely traditionally. And so at the meetup, there was this, I don't know, I think 1 or 2 people were drawing Frieren, and then for some reason everybody was joking around that everybody was drawing Frieren, even though out of 30 people it was only 2. So I thought it would be really fun last minute for everybody to get a Frieren sticker. So I really quickly sketched this up, and I made stickers of them. Yeah, so I made stickers of Frieren. I'll probably just be selling a sticker sheet though, just because one single sticker can be quite a bit, as I said. Yeah. So for my friend's birthday card, she loves Sailor Moon, and especially Sailor Jupiter in particular out of the characters, and Sailor Mars, and I think Sailor Venus. But every time I draw Sailor Moon characters and try to match the style, I have such a struggle. I don't know why. I really, really have so much struggles with that style. I don't know why my brain just does not want to click with it. It's really weird. I've managed to master the simplicity of Frieren and the derpiness of Frieren, which I was like so happy I succeeded over. But yeah, the previous card when I drew Sailor Mars for her, I was like, it was not the greatest. I really wanted to actually make her a gray card, so I felt really bad. I didn't want to be like derpy. I'm like, it's been a year and I still can't draw Sailor Moon characters for some reason. So then I remembered she liked Dungeon Meshi as well, so I decided to draw Marcille. Sorry, I don't know why my voice cracked like that. Marcille, yeah, and I kind of did a more like the holiday themed ones for it. And yeah, I even I even turned her into a sticker as well. Yeah. I'll see. I might actually sell individual stickers. This is a lot bigger, so maybe I will. But yeah, I might just do also a Dungeon Meshi sticker sheet, because I think that'll be fun to fully complete. But yeah. This was a lot of fun to work on. I did do a traditional painting version of her card, but I do have because I sketched this obviously in my sketchbook, I transferred digitally, finished the ink lines, and I had like a digital version, and then I had the traditional version which I redid and painted for her card. So yeah, that was a fun ending to this sketchbook, aside from me randomly trying to paint trees, and it was alright, but nothing special. Because I kind of ran out of steam, I think, at this point, because I was like drawing so much holiday stuff that, yeah, but yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed the sketchbook run. I think it lasted for quite a while, actually. I didn't rush myself, definitely paced myself, and I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, I don't really have any sketchbook completion goals kind of thing. I just use my sketchbook and draw whenever I feel like it. I practice stuff, I sketch stuff, I make complete stuff, I make stuff to be transferable and like for my finished works and stuff like that. So yeah. Overall, I really am glad I went with the spine version and not the hardbound version, just because I personally enjoy it when you can do this with a sketchbook, and it takes up a lot less space, especially if you're, it's also light enough that I can travel with it. I can throw it in my backpack, and it's a bit of a chunker, but it's still fine. Like, I think it's still, worth taking with me a lot of times, because then I know I can do a lot more mixed media stuff as opposed to my tiny one that I'm more limited in what I can sketch and draw. And that concludes the sketchbook tour. It's a bit of a long one, so if you got this far, I really hope you enjoyed. I hope you can drop a like if you did, and maybe subscribe for more adventures with me. And see you on the next one.